you can't just say, we're going to pay you $50 million, even if the show doesn't bring in any money. That's not punishment. First of all, 50 million minus 25% is not punishment by the standards of any human being in the world today, right? That's not punishment. That's just reality. He would still be being paid millions and millions of dollars, and we would be actively working with all those people that we're paying out of our cut to go find new advertisers to replace it, at which point he would be making his money again.
What's going on, everyone? It's Talks with Kenny, and it's crazy. This is crazy. Literally, as I'm uploading and editing, probably going to release it the same day, the Steven Crowder calls out the conservative media. I'm going through my channel as I'm waiting for my video to upload, and guess what I found? Our offer to Steven Crowder, the Daily Wire response. So we're going to get into it. I already watched the full video, so I might jump around. I may not do it. I might just stop short. Probably going to do it halfway, but we're going to explain some of the things that's going on in this response video. Mostly, maybe some of you people might have seen it, maybe you haven't, but this is my take and my reaction to the Steven Crowder offer by the Daily Wire. Let's get into the video.
All right. Our friend Steven Crowder has launched a new initiative called Stop Big Con. And in the video announcing the launch of the project, he talked about leaving the blaze and all the different offers that he fielded from other conservative organizations and what he thought were the real problems with those offers. And that's led a lot of people to speculate about whether or not the Daily Wire is one of the people who made him an offer. In particular, are we the ones who made the offer that he put up on the screen and talked about at length?
And that's crazy how on the ball we were on it. And I think what gave it away was the fact that the multiple ad reads, and we're like, well, that's not like the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire has been transparent throughout, and I applaud them. As an all access member, I was like skeptical. I was like, hey, I wonder if Daily Wire gave them an offer, and is that the offer they're talking about? Because it sounds a lot like what they do in their day-to-day operations. Like, I react to a bunch of the Daily Wire people's videos, Candace Owens, Matt Walsh's, Ben Shapiro's, and I always have to like cut out the sponsorship part because it interferes with the video, right? Bruh. I'm just saying. So I understand. Like, I was like, yo, Daily Wire. That's why I kept in my previous video. That's why I was like, yo, I kept saying the Daily Wire, and then I had to catch myself because I'm like, yo, like, I don't know for sure. Steven Crowder didn't out them, and voila, here we are. But hey, let's continue.
And the answer is yes, that offer did come from the Daily Wire. I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. In fact, I think it's a very good offer. But I think there's a lot of sort of misconceptions about the nature of the offer, the nature of the points. I think Steven misunderstood a lot of the points. And so the way we do here at the Daily Wire, we're just going to be incredibly transparent. You know that we like to have our members be a part of the journey. We live stream all of our company town halls, for example. We just find that sunlight sometimes is the best disinfectant. And so with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be in conversations with Steven, how those conversations ended, and walk you just line by line through what the actual document that we sent over to him, a non-binding term sheet.
And one of the things that in any business negotiation is that you debate these points. You give a counteroffer. You say, hey, I don't like these terms, change these terms, whatever. And Steven Crowder has the leverage and the weight to demand those changes. Now, a lot of people, and I believe this is where Steven Crowder's main point was for like the smaller creators. Like, let's say if I was in a contract and Daily Wire sent me an offer, it wouldn't look like that, obviously, but I'll have maybe more penalties, maybe more, hey, like, you gotta prove yourself. And I know, like, coming from a corporate background like I did, like I'm in corporate right now, but I understood that, hey, when you're inexperienced, you're just coming into an industry, just coming into a field. When I came into my field, I wasn't paid a lot of money. I started off my career making $37,000 a year. At 21 years old, I started coming into my career. That's how I started off. Now I'm making way more money than that now, because like now I have 5 years of experience, and I changed jobs, and I'm a different company now, right? I understand that, hey, when you come into a place, you got to kind of earn your keep. You got to make a name for yourself. You got to prove your worth almost, right? And I understand that coming from a corporate background. So I don't know if Steven Crowder felt like he deserved more. That's the hint I got from how Jeremy is framing this stuff. And that could just be him, trying to control the narrative around what's going on. But hey, let's continue. I don't want to talk too much.
It actually said and why. First thing you should know is that I'm really miserable to be making this video. Stephen's been my friend for 10 years. I think he's maybe the most talented person working in the conservative media space. He's one of the top entertainers in the country, politics notwithstanding, a great comic voice. And I find it really tragic that we're having this kind of a conversation. But it's also very important, I think, that we talk about it, in particular because I know a lot of people who are fans of the Daily Wire were really offended by the things that Stephen said in the video, and they're concerned that maybe we're doing the wrong thing. And I think that by the time we finish this video, you'll understand what we were thinking with our term sheet and how we operate as a business a little bit better.
Short version, I'll give you guys the short version. The short version is that it's just business, bro. And Jeremy's going to outline a lot of the terms, saying that as Daily Wire, as a company right now, right, Daily Wire doesn't have enough really to give the contract that Steven Crowder wanted, right? And he's going to go into some details, and it's a lot of money, right? But compared to athletes, it's really nothing, right? Like compared to like what athletes get paid, because they bring in just more revenue. But I think Steven Crowder demands that amount, and it seems like Steven Crowder wanted more control over how the terms of the contract was, and Jeremy's going to frame this as a company, he was taking on too much risk with no guarantees, while he was guaranteeing money to Steven Crowder, while he wanted to kind of share some of the burden of that guarantee. And my issue is, hey, why not write it out as like how athletes have it? Some of the money is guaranteed, and if the athlete wants to maximize the earnings of that contract, the unguaranteed amount, then there's certain achievements that athlete has to hit, so that way he can get his payout from that contract, right? Let's say Patrick Mahomes is a prime example of this. He has a $500 million, $500 million contract with I forgot what team he's playing for, the Chiefs.
Bruh.
$500 million, sorry, right? Like 80% of that money is not guaranteed. He only gonna get that money if he hits certain metrics, certain achievements. He gets to the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl. He gets to the playoffs. Like he has to show a consistent result or certain result so he can get that payout. But if he doesn't, the company, the team is not liable to give him that money. I think that contract would have worked a lot better, but it seemed like how they framing it, Steven Crowder wasn't being reasonable. Maybe he didn't quite understand business acumen. And I feel like I understand. I feel like if you work in corporate America, or you work in you have any job that's like hourly or whatever, you kind of get to understand like, hey, like money don't grow on trees. You can't just sit here and demand money. There has to be some benefit to the employer to pay you the amount they're paying you, right? You expect them to want to make their money back. I'm just saying. But let's get back into the video.
I've wanted to be in business with Stephen since the day that I met him. Ben and I tried to do some even movie deals with Stephen before there was CRTV and before there was a Daily Wire. For that entire time, we've talked at length at various times about getting together and doing things. Of course, for most of that time, he's been under contract, first at CRTV and then at The Blaze. So we weren't able to. And from time to time during the years, we would get together and daydream a little bit about, would there be a future for us to work together at the other end of that deal? We got word that Stephen was finishing up his time at The Blaze and was interested in having a conversation with us. And so we reached out to his agent and we said, listen, we'd love to have a conversation. It's not every day that a monster talent like Stephen comes on the market. We'd be bad businessmen if we didn't engage in a conversation with him. We weren't sure at that time if there was a deal to be had. I mean, for one thing, we're friends with Glenn, we're friends with Tyler, we're friends with all the guys at The Blaze. We weren't sure that we wanted to commit to making an offer to Stephen. And Stephen's an expensive talent. I mean, he's been in the business a long time. He has an enormous fan base, and we knew that it would take a lot of doing to get him over to the Daily Wire. This at the same time that we're investing very heavily in kids entertainment content and making real television content, streaming scripted fiction like The Penn Draft.
Okay, so Jeremy starts talking about some of the Daily Wire stuff. I'm gonna skip fast forward just a bit. I might miss some context there because I fast forward, but he articulated there already that there's costs that he's already managing, right? He already pledged, and I'm an All Access member, so I know this. He already pledged $100 million towards kids content. right? And I think Daily Wire per year makes about $200 million a year. So that's half his revenue already dedicated to making kids content. And then the money he's about to guarantee Steven Crowder, and you can see why he made the contract so much like golden handcuffs, like because he guaranteeing a lot of the money up front, and he's trying to recoup those costs. So he's trying to 5 ad reads here. I need this here. You don't work. Hey, we're not liable to pay you this amount, right? And it all makes sense now, right? And if Crowder feel like because end of the day, I understand trade-offs, right? Opportunity costs, trade-offs. Everyone like, I don't want to pull the book out, but I have Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics right here next to me on my shelf right here, and it talks about this stuff, right? You can't expect, if the money's coming from an entity, right? Daily Wire, you can't expect them to just give you guaranteed money and have no expectations from you. That's bro. It doesn't make sense. That don't make sense. It's like me saying, hey, pay me money and I don't do no work for you. You're just gonna pay me because my name is XYZ. No. Bruh. You have to, it's a trade-off, two-way street here. Right? And it seemed like I don't know if it's what part of this is Jeremy just trying to frame the conversation to paint Steven Crowder in a certain light. I don't know. It just seems like, Steven Crowder probably felt like I deserved a little bit more. Maybe the other offers weren't up to what he thought it would be for him. And this is why I said it in the beginning of my last video. Bruh. Steven Crowder needs to create his own business. And towards the end of this video, Jeremy says the same thing. He's saying, hey, good luck. I hope you'll be able to find 300,000 subscribers or email people to bring over. But he said, you can't guarantee these numbers, but that's not a risk I'm willing to take. Jeremy just outlined that, hey, my business can't take that risk. I can't take the risk of you maybe having 300,000 people following you to our platform, right? And Steven Crowder believes that, hey, like we could prove them, like I could prove you wrong. This is why he put the website BigCon, Stop BigCon, to show him like, hey, look, you see, you said it couldn't be done, Jeremy. And Jeremy said, I hope you prove me wrong. Sorry. Right. So to me, Jeremy's just taking it as like, this is just business. He's not being emotional about it. It don't seem that way to me. I don't know. I know Jeremy took offense to the fact that Steven Crowder kind of called him like, oh, you're bowing down to the big tech. But Jeremy's framing that as, hey, we're not bowing down to the big tech. We're just being practical here. Like we still got to make our money so that way we can use those resources to push our message, push our movement, so we can put out the What is a Woman documentaries, what is the Greatest Lie Ever Told documentaries out, right? We need to be smart about this. We can't just be like, and like undisciplined and get canceled or lose revenue, and that hurts our cause. Like, and it goes back to what I was saying in the past videos. It's principles versus pragmatism. Like, do you be practical or do you be principled? And you can kind of do both, right? You sacrifice the short term for the long term success of that principle, right? And it's always, and this is what I'm saying, it's always a tough situation talking about these things as an observer, because end of the day, we don't suffer the cost or the benefits of what's going on here, right? I'm just saying, I'm just being realistic here, right? I'm sure Jeremy has his valid reasons for why he can't do the deal. Steven Crowder has his valid reasons why he doesn't want to do the deal. But at the end of the day, it just seems like, hey, Steven Crowder, you got to start your own stuff, bro. Like, bruh, come on. You got to start your own stuff, bro. And Jeremy's like, you start a business, Steven Crowder. You'll see how hard it is to run a business, Steven Crowder. And that's pretty much that's how, if you had to ask for a summary of the video, that's the summary. But let's get into it.
The aspect of that conversation, he only wanted to know about the money. He said, we're not going to have a conversation. We're not going to have some abstract talk. We're going to send us an offer. Tell us how much money you're willing to pay. And he gave us an indication of what the minimum number would have to be in order to even have a discussion with Steven. And it's a big number. So we talked about it internally, and we decided, yeah, we should do that. We should send over an opening offer, a non-binding term sheet that takes a stab at what we think that minimum number is going to be, to get the conversation started, so that we can sit down with Steven, so that we can see if there's a deal that'd be good for him and good for us. And that's what we did. We put together the term sheet. We sent it over and we asked if we could get on the phone and have a conversation with Stephen. I'm going to walk you through that document, what it says, what it doesn't say, some of how Stephen represented it. I'm sure he feels like he was being accurate, but some of the things that he said are simply not true based on the text. And Stephen's a very passionate guy. I think that he's doing his level best to stand against what he sees as an injustice, but there is no injustice in this document, as I think you'll see. And then I'll tell you what happened right after we sent the document, when I finally did get on the phone with Stephen. So first, here's the document, the non-binding confidential term sheet. I'm just going to walk you through it, full transparency. This non-binding term sheet sets forth the basic deal points of a proposed content production and distribution agreement between the Daily Wire, LLC, the Texas Limited Liability Company, and Steven Crowder via his loan out, so that if and when the parties elect to move forward with a long-form agreement, they can move quickly in preparing a definitive and binding agreement.
And I think in that first part, Steven Crowder didn't really mention that part, but you see, this is why you want to hear both sides, because obviously in any argument or any debate or whatever, people are always going to try to frame and maybe show you what they want you to see, right? And maybe that's the only part Steven Crowder had a problem with. That's the only part of the contract Steven Crowder had a problem with, right? Now you hear Jeremy here on this side. Now he's showing you, hey, look, this is what we're offering him. Because remember, a lot of people like Tim Pool, a lot of people are like, I wonder what was the offer, what was the fee, what were they going to pay him? So then we could actually accurately weigh, okay, $100,000, you miss a few days, you're getting paid millions. Is it really that bad as you trying to claim it is? No. And this is where you start getting into it. Now it becomes like, okay, it becomes more balanced, but I digress. Let's get back into it.
That's just legalese. That means this is just a conversation.
And I still don't like the control part. Obviously, I want you, like, to me as a creator, I want some independence, right? And I think that's what Steven Crowder wanted the most. And he just sees like, damn, so you pay me all this money up front and you get to control every aspect of everything I have built up to this point, and you're going to manage it. And it just seems like Steven Crowder has this belief like, hey, I can manage it better. You're just paying me to create content with you, but you shouldn't be able to manage or control anything I have, right? Just like an athlete. Like no one's like the LA Lakers is not going to tell LeBron James how to do business. Hey, you're representing the Lakers brand. You shouldn't be doing movies, right? The Lakers are not going to tell LeBron that. So I think Steven Crowder's walking around saying, hey, Daily Wire, you shouldn't be telling me how to manage my stuff, right? You give me guaranteed money. I'm going to create exclusive content with you. That's fine. But I want to manage this. I want to get a revenue split with my merchandise. But as you see in the beginning, and I think once we see the actual numbers, I'll probably just take it from here. But let's get back into it.
Starter, and we're obviously going to have a negotiation if we move forward, and a lot of these points are going to get beat up. And for those of you who've never been through a contract negotiation, well, that's how it works. When you send someone an offer, you don't send them everything that you're willing to say yes to, because there is going to be a negotiation, because agents and lawyers are going to get involved, because you can't read their mind. You don't know everything that will be important to them and everything that they'll want. You don't know even some of their sort of non-negotiable points. And so you send over a loose offer, and then they're going to beat it up a little bit. They're going to say, well, this should be higher and this should be lower. And you're going to come back and say, no, we're going to stand firm here, but we're willing to compromise there. And over time, you either get to a deal or you don't get to a deal. But that's how a good faith negotiation always works. 100% of every interaction I've ever had with any talent, that's the process. And so here we go. Here was our offer. A 4-year initial term with 2-year renewal at DW's sole discretion. That just means Steven's going to work for DW for 4 years. And if it's going really well, DW can retain him for an additional 2 years. 2, the fee. And remember, this is the minimum number that we thought would get the conversation started with Steven. $50 million for the initial term, plus $25 million for the renewal term if extended.
And it's paid in monthly installments. Now, here's the important part, and I think I will probably take it from here. I won't go further into the video. If you guys want to watch the rest of the video, it's 52 minutes long. I'll leave the link in the description below. But $50 million for the initial term, right? Plus 25 for the renewal term if extended. That means that's for the other 2 years. So that means if Crowder does the full 6 years with Daily Wire, he would have got paid $75 million. All right. Now, if you go back to what Steven Crowder was saying, you see all the fees and the penalties. They're paying him this stuff up front. So he's paid in monthly installments, right? So it makes sense. Okay, you lose $100,000 there. If you miss a couple of days, right? Because all this money is expectedly you're being paid up front for that, right? So let me take this off. And also production costs. Crowder will bear the burden of production, including all costs associated thereof, on all the competent contemplated herein, except on quarterly and annual content contemplated below, which is their all access lives, maybe some Daily Wire exclusive content. He don't have to pay for that stuff, right? And to me, that sounds reasonable, right? It sounds like, okay, two-way street, you know? If we're going to give you all this guaranteed money, but you do something that causes you to not be able to recruit, give us back our costs. Because when a business gives you money up front like that, $50 million up front, they're trying to at least get even on that. So this is why all the revenue collection, this is why they want control over Crowder's merchandising, his email list, his social media account, except his Twitter and I believe Instagram. They want to manage all that because they're trying to get as much revenue back from giving him all this upfront money. It's like an advance, like the same thing what they do with rappers. Rappers get money upfront, right? Their music deal, whatever. They say, hey, here's $10 million. Go shoot a music video. Go make whatever. But you know those sales of your disc, those revenue things are going to pay us back for giving you that cash advance. This is pretty much the same concept here with Steven Crowder. I hope I made a good job of that. So it looks a lot more reasonable now, right? Because now we know the numbers. Now we have the actual numbers. And the reason why it's not confidential is because Crowder never signed this. So technically he's not, Jeremy's not legally liable for, you put his privacy out there. You were going to, he can't get sued for this because Crowder didn't sign it. And like he said, this is just an opening offer. So Crowder could have nah, that's unfavorable terms instead of, I don't know. I don't think it was right now seeing this. It's almost like he burned a bridge there, but maybe it had to be done. I don't know. Bruh. You guys let me know what you guys think. Maybe it had to be done. Maybe this had to be put on notice like, hey, I'm going to leave it up to the court of public opinion. This is how you guys do business. Now, and then Jeremy got a chance to respond. Now I heard his response. I'm trying to be as cordial here because I like both of these content creators, right? I like Daily Wire as a company. I tell you guys, I support them. I'm an all access member. I like Crowder's content. I listen to it. I read it. I watch it. I enjoy it, right? The Change My Mind is what started getting me into conservatism a little bit. So I owe a lot to these two people, like these two companies, these two entities. I like what they're doing. And I don't think it does the movement well having them two fight each other over this. It just seems like Crowder felt like, yo, you paying me $50 million. You get control of all of my intellectual property when I manage it just fine. I don't you guys are not. I believe Crowder believes they couldn't make Crowder better by them managing the stuff. Crowder just saw no difference. Crowder said, hey, I'm doing better than I'm bigger than you guys. I'm doing pretty well myself. Why am I letting you guys control all my intellectual property? I can do that myself, right? Maybe because it seemed like Crowder didn't want to have control. Like he didn't want to give control of his brand to the Daily Wire. I think that's the main point of contention here, right? Maybe he felt like he should have got paid more money. Jeremy insinuates that further into the video that he wanted more money than the $75 million that they offered here in the opening offer, right? And Jeremy chalked it up to saying, hey, Crowder is a one-man show. He's a big enough talent that he could essentially start his own company. And Jeremy saying, hey, Crowder should start his own company so he see how hard it is. I can't just throw money around like that. I got 200 employees that I got to think about. I can't just give you money that's guaranteed for you, but I don't know if I'm going to get that money back if you do anything that gets you banned, demonetized, and I can't recoup those costs. Bruh. Sounds reasonable. Sounds logical, right? And I honestly think, Crowder, man, you got to, if you believe you're worth more money, you just got to do what you always do. Prove them wrong. Make it out on your own. But I do see why Daily Wire couldn't like pay you the money they can pay you. Why they were essentially giving you golden handcuffs, because they guaranteed a lot of money up front. Now, if you kind of reworked into an incentive structure, I think you would have got more favorable terms, because then Daily Wire wouldn't feel so pressured to extract revenue back because they haven't invested so much. Maybe you make it, hey, 25 million is guaranteed and 25 million is unguaranteed, because there might be certain achievements or certain metrics you have to hit to get the full 50 mil. Maybe that then you have more favorable terms, and Daily Wire be like less controlling over your intellectual property. That's just something I seen coming from the corporate world, because that's how it works, right? But you guys can watch the rest of the video. I don't want to ramble too long. I know I've been talking a lot, and I'm pretty tired because this is an hour after I just uploaded my last video. You guys won't see it until later today, but let me know your thoughts about it. Did what Jeremy said, have you watched the full video? Did anything Jeremy said really balanced out the conversation back to like a neutral point, or do you still think Crowder's right on this, or maybe there's something I missed? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.